published 15:33 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 15th of April 2018, updated 20:07 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 15th of April 2018. When Manchester City constructed a new circular dressing room at the Etihad last summer, a line from Mancunian poet Tony Walsh was inscribed around the wall above the players' heads. Some were born here, others drawn here, but we all call it home. The words from the poem "This is the Place" that Walsh read out at a vigil for the victims of the Manchester Arena bombing last May struck a chord with Pep Guardiola. Manchester City manager's wife Christina Serra and their two daughters, Valentina and Maria, were caught up in the atrocity at the Ariana Grande concert close to their city centre apartment. Pep Guardiola has brought so much more than the Premier League title to the Etihad Stadium. Guardiola took his family back to the venue when it reopened with the We Are Manchester benefit gig in September at the invitation of Noel Gallagher, and visited his celebrity friend in the green room afterwards. By then, it had become part of the matchday ritual at City that Oasis hit Wonderwall was played as the squad walked into the dressing room every game without fail. Guardiola felt the need to forge a stronger bond between his players and the club they represented. Amid the shattering aftermath of the bombing, he saw something uniquely Mancunian in the response of the city and its people. He wanted Walsh's words and Gallagher's music to inspire his players, to make them appreciate what City meant to their supporters. It offers an insight into the mind of Guardiola that goes beyond the perception of a football obsessive and control freak who cannot see beyond the white lines of the pitch. That reputation is well earned. The Spaniard's attention to detail is like no other coach in world football. When he first took over in the summer of 2016, Guardiola called a meeting with ground staff and stipulated that the grass at the Etihad and training pitches at the City Football Academy should be exactly 19 mm, as it had been at Barcelona and Bayern. He was persuaded to relent on that demand because the grass doesn't grow as quickly in Manchester, so the surface at the stadium is now allowed to grow to up to 23 mm. Guardiola's attention to details has been most evident around the City Football Academy. Guardiola wanted a circular dressing room to quash any cliques developing within his squad at the CFA. One pitch was dedicated to the half space, with a channel between the fullback and the centre-back on either side of the penalty area, marked out so City can perfect their attacking strategy. In the training ground itself, Guardiola is so comfortable that he is often seen walking through the corridors with his shoes off. The Wi-Fi was switched off in parts of the first team building to encourage players to interact rather than disappear into their mobile phones. For the same reason, Guardiola insisted on the more inclusive, round dressing room when the Etihad was remodeled to incorporate the new Tunnel Club last summer. Togetherness off the pitch would be reflected on it. Players' diets were scrutinized. Those returning for pre-season overweight were made to train on their own. The squad were instructed to dine together after games and often before training, with Guardiola's former Barcelona nutritionist Silvia Tremolida hired to oversee every aspect of the players' food intake, even the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan and Kyle Walker, who employ a private chef. Foreign players were told to learn English. Nicolas Otamendi and Aymeric Laporte are among those working towards their exams, so the manager could speak to his squad in one language, and the team were attired by Guardiola's friends at fashion company D2. Embracing the heritage of the club and that of the city of Manchester, he is already an icon. While that may give the impression of a coach more concerned with micro, not management, it is not necessarily the case. Following the premature birth of his baby son Mateo, David Silva was given compassionate leave to travel to Valencia throughout the season by a coach who prefers his players to stay at home with their families the night before games rather than sleep in hotel accommodation at the CFA. After City crashed out of the FA Cup at League One underdogs Wigan in February, Guardiola gave them the day off to go paintballing. Last season, after a painful 4-0 defeat to Everton, he took them to watch La La Land at the cinema. At the club's Christmas party at Menagerie Restaurant and Bar, the manager and his backroom staff danced long into the night with 500 members of staff, while £55 million signing Benjamin Mendy played alcohol-free beer pong with a group of young graduates from the club's London offices. A coach who won 21 trophies in 7 years at Barcelona and Bayern could have been forgiven for not getting carried away by lifting the Carabao Cup, but Guardiola organised a champagne reception for staff at the training ground following the team's victory over Arsenal to thank them for helping him lift his first trophy in England. Now he has added the Premier League title, making up for a barren first season in England that led to some people questioning City's faith in the Pep project. The Carabao Cup may be a footnote on his CV, but Guardiola made sure his staff were thanked. 0-0-1 Man United, the 14th of April 2001, 17-18 Man City, the 15th of April 2018, 99-0 Man United, the 22nd of April 2012 to 13 Man United, the 22nd of April 2013, 0-3-0-4 Arsenal, the 25th of April 2004. The club never wavered. Guardiola's relationship with City chief executive Ferran Soriano and director of football Txiki Begiristain is solid enough that when the club walked away from deals for Alexis Sanchez and Riyad Mahrez in January, there was no grumbling from the coach. In contrast, it's said that City officials watched open-mouthed as Jose Mourinho delivered his football heritage rant in the wake of Manchester United's Champions League exit at the hands of Sevilla last month, having joked with Liverpool executives on the EasyJet flight out to Switzerland for the quarter-final draw in Lyon that the front-row seats booked by United were empty. City continued to entrust Guardiola with more than £450 million in less than 2 years to rebuild the squad and mould it to the way he wants to play. He has brought in Ederson, Mendy, Walker, Danilo, Laporte, Gundogan, Gabriel Jesus, Leroy Sane and Bernardo Silva, raising the standard and reducing the age of his squad. The club believed in his gift to improve players, and not always his owners, bemused Southampton winger Nathan Redmond discovered in November. It says much for Guardiola's ability in this department that even senior stars like Sergio Aguero, David Silva and De Bruyne have taken the game to a new level. The younger ones have benefited too. Raheem Sterling describes how the manager told him to stop controlling the ball on the outside of his foot because it slowed him down. The England winger has scored 22 goals this season, double his previous best. Raheem Sterling has been transformed in 2 seasons under the coaching of Guardiola. David Silva has flourished as well despite being granted as much leave as he needs for his son. Sane claims Guardiola has changed his game completely, turning him into one of the most devastating attackers in the Premier League. They belong to a vibrant group of players, hungry for success and with enough energy required to execute the high-pressing game plan so central to the manager's ethos. Guardiola has been criticized for sticking to it too rigidly in recent weeks, but there is no doubt how well it has served City over the course of the season. When he spoke to his players during the half-time interval at Huddersfield in November, they were facing their first league defeat of the season and an embarrassing one at that. The message was simple: stick to the plan, even if it means losing the game. It will pay off in the long run. For the first time in nearly 23 years, City overturned a half-time deficit to win away in the Premier League. It was the first of 4 2-1 league victories in a row that broke the hearts of their rivals who were hoping the title charge might slow up as winter approached. Huddersfield, Southampton and West Ham succumbed to late goals, and United were outclassed at Old Trafford as City proved they have the character to match the charisma. That night, it was interesting to think back to City's friendly with United in Houston last July when they were well beaten and Ederson blundered on his debut. There were some very good things, said an upbeat Guardiola afterwards. We're going to grow up. No one, not even Guardiola himself, could have imagined just how quickly it would happen. Guardiola arrived at Manchester City with so much expectation, but has still exceeded it.